So I wanted to do a quick follow-up to my other video. Put the link in the description. So again, I don't do no super formal professional equipment to talk and say my thoughts. So obviously y'all understand where I'm at, where my belief system's at. And obviously I'm not gonna brag because as it stands, it still hasn't gotten a lot of views. And it wasn't for that. It was just me, explaining my thoughts, opinions, and that's what led me to, upload that video. But a lot of people didn't agree with it, as far as people who know me, and it's interesting to say the least, because we preach about tolerance, we preach about how we should be more accepting of other views and stuff, but a lot of us don't. Well, a lot of people in that belief system don't care. The social justice warrior people, they was somebody who I wasn't all the way immersed as some people are, but I definitely was a part of that group for the longest time, and I contribute to the spread of false information, contribute to the spread of division, and it's, perception is reality. So it's one of those things where you don't even recognize, you don't even realize that you're actually part of the problem by not to be able to hear a viewpoint and perspective. Because, for example, and I'm not no scientist, so please don't in the comments, well, if you do this, for example, if four different people had the same view on gravity, and a fifth person comes and says a different view, that, hey, if you jump off this, you will die. And they're like, well, no, we won't, because us four believe we won't. Does that make the other four people right? No. Does it make the fifth person right? No. But that's where a discussion is had. Not the best analogy, I understand. It was just off the top of the dome. But that's where we need to be triggered. We need to have people who disagree with us. We need to, because you can go through life believing one thing and then realizing you've been wrong the whole time. Just because you believe a certain way does not make it correct. And if you are around people who don't challenge your way of thinking, not only are you a coward, but they're a coward as well. Because a lot of your friends, and I can preach this from personal experience, a lot of your friends do not agree with you on everything. It's just we're so, especially the social justice warriors, so easily offended by everything that anything that's outside the scope of what we deemed as correct, what we deemed as right, and I said what we because I was part of it, I'm no longer. What we deemed as right, anything outside of that was just wrong, was either racist, was all the phobias, was just completely just wrong, and if if you didn't see the way we saw it, there was a problem with you. But a lot of that was emotionally charged and feelings based. And when anybody who knows, anybody who's an adult, anybody who's been a kid, which all of us I'm sure have been, unless y'all got access to something that I don't know, and in case just shoot me some in the comments, connect with me directly somewhere else. But we've all made decisions based on emotions and realized that that wasn't the best choice. We've all acted out on emotions and realized that's not the best. I'm not saying be void of emotion, because it's not wise. But within your emotion, you need to have substance behind that. What does that mean? You need to have facts. It's really that simple. You could be passionate in about something. You could, and that's not what people have an issue with. It's when you're screaming down your throats because the other person's saying something you didn't like. It doesn't make them racist. Doesn't make them any type of phobia. It's just them having a dialogue, because believe it or not, most people do seek to understand. There's a lot of people that seek to listen, to respond, and we know who those people are. But a lot of people seek to understand. And if you take the time to just do that, you'll realize that even if common ground can't be made, you may realize that, man, I need to look on my subject more because maybe I do have it wrong, or no, it can further iterate and for the lost the word, but it can make your current perspective even stronger. And don't go by this by talking to somebody who can't truly challenge you, because you're a coward. Then that whole taking candy for a baby mentality, you don't want to do that in a debate. That's cowardice. If somebody has a different opinion of you than yourself, don't be afraid to speak on it. Don't be afraid of to have that, because you can't progress if you have the same opinion. Some of the most um, remembered people in history are remembered because they went against the grain. And to be kind of honest, depending on the way you look at it, because it's all a matter of perspective to an extent, people with the same way of thinking haven't really been on the best side of history. Um, I'll let you guys, kind of dissect that in your own way. But we need to be better with this. We got kids growing up. We got, college students. You can't even have a conversation. I don't even know what a safe space is. Like, I was in the military. I don't, and like I said in my previous video, I didn't grow up and start in no lavish place. And even now, I'm just in a very, you know, suburbia type setting, I guess is what you would say. But that's not where we started. It's not. We just worked hard and did better for ourselves. And most importantly, even the bad choices I made sure to learn from them so it didn't affect me going forward. And I do understand that some people do not have the privilege and the resources. I get that. That is a thing. We can't deny that is a thing. But we can't just use that as the only excuse to why you didn't make it. Because there are ways to obtain the resources. And honestly, that's by voting the right people in office. Really paying attention to who your candidates are. Really looking at what that person stands for. Looking at the person's history. What bills that they authored before. That helps a lot. It really does. Because our kids do need better. In some areas, the school system needs to be better. We do need more mental health centers in different areas. That does need to happen. That is an issue. There's plenty of tests and psychology data that proves that. We are a product of our environment to a point, but at some point, we have to make the conscious decision where, do I want to stay this and repeat this cycle, or do I want to do the hard thing? And it's not easy, whether it's leaving your home, leaving what you know, whether it's getting out of the situation. We tend to stay what's in our comfort zone. We tend to stay within our what's comfortable for us. Growth is hard. I mean, even from kid, you lose teeth, you fall out the tree, to be careful. You burn yourself, not to play with it. Growth is hard. And we got to the point, especially in America, from what I'm seeing, is that we got to a point to where growth is only what one group of people believe growth to be in progression in society, and that's just not it. And we need to get better with being able to have a dialogue. Whether I agree with everybody on the far right, as they say, the far conservatives, that doesn't matter. But I want to hear what they have to say, because if they do have a different opinion, I want to hear what led them to that opinion, and then express mine. Although listening to them made me want to go and research more, because I'm like, they said this and this and that. Let me fact check this. And you don't fact check it by checking one website, especially a website that's, on one end of the political spectrum and all that. You got to check several websites. And that's the other thing. Stop spreading false information. Stop with this social justice warrior thing where you just share any article that is demeaning to a certain person, but you won't share the article of the good things that they've done, or you won't really even take the chance to realize that. Because for me, just to completely full transparent, I'm not a Trump supporter. I'm not. But I have to be honest, I didn't really know some of the things, and I might have mentioned in my last video, some of the things that he's done. Didn't know. And I'm like, yo, that's actually pretty dope, because he just signed a law to limit how much people can charge for insulin. And if y'all got family with diabetes, that's huge. There's some other stuff, and I encourage y'all to really just research the other hand. I don't know who I support right now. Actually, I know I don't support Joe Biden. That's without. I mean, come on. There are several examples. He should not be running because that being a president is a stressful job, and this is not to be funny, but it really, and not to be insensitive to anybody who might be listening to this, but he really seems to be suffering from early onset dementia. I don't know, but I'm not a doctor, but from my observation, that's what it looks like. So if you just voting them in, just to vote them, like, again, you're part of the problem, and that's what a lot of us don't want to. We don't want to believe we're part of the problem. We always want to believe people on the other end. Same thing with the far conservatives. At times, I do believe that sometimes they can come off very condescending and very hard to talk to because a lot of them are very logical and reasoning based with their debates, not an argument. But there needs to be a certain level of empathy within that for understanding, because the way data can be manipulated in a way based on how you phrase a sentence. What I mean by that, for instance, I could say, you know, 25% of the time I run a red light. Or I could say 75% of the time I come to a stop sign. That means, let's use that. 75% of the time I come to a police stop. I don't know why I got stopped. So when I say a big number like that, you're like, oh, well, they're doing the right thing most of the time. But that means 25% of the time I'm running red lights. I'm running stop signs. It doesn't make it good. And again, my analogies are off. Trust me, they'll get better. But again, that's the same way with people presenting data. That's why you really got to educate yourself. Really listen. Again, I mentioned them before, but I think, as far as I know, Charlie Kirk does a good job of it. He gets passionate, but he's never condescending. And he structures the argument. Even some things I've listened to on Jordan Peterson, I really, took a hold of how he structured his, debates in his argument. And it's never to belittle the person. They don't call people stupid out of their name or anything like that. They ask questions of how the other person believes to get the other person to realize, like, maybe my belief is off. And that's what I like. That's what I honestly like that. And I don't know if I'm a full supporter of either of them yet, but I do like the way they present information. I do like the way they articulate themselves, and I do like the way it forced me to look into things. So to wrap this video up, pretty much say I don't care if you're mad that I've found my own thought, my own way. I don't, and none of you guys shouldn't either. Whatever, it don't matter if you black, white, whatever. If you've been able to really think for yourself, and this goes for everybody and everybody, not just from a political or social or cultural perspective. If you've been able to